Right. So I was talking to you about how you can increase your vocabulary. For Muskan and the rest of you, is that listen more to people, read more. If you want to write well, you need to read well too. So read a lot, read about anything you like. It could be fiction, it could be related to your studies, it could be related to entertainment, sports. Just read. You will get a lot new words. And then another way is, if you like writing, create drafts on something as easy as MS Word. Now, what happens in MS Word? It's one of the very, very user-friendly softwares by Windows. Type in whatever you like. And then once you've written down something, okay, for example, let me just show you on the screen right here. Is that, for example, you write a word. For example, you write particular. And you say particular, तो इतना सारा use होता है, what else can I use, right? So all you need to do is, for example, let me come here. Okay, so come to particular. I'm doing this in PowerPoint, but you could do this in MS Word as well. PowerPoint also supports it. So come here, come to particular, do a right click, and you'll get synonyms. Okay. Sometimes it will show you right now it's not showing, it's telling me to go to the thesaurus, which I'm not interested in doing. But most often it should give you a synonym. Why is it not giving? Okay, maybe it's something to do with so another reason why I got delayed today is that I'm using a new laptop, and it took me a little while to kind of start. I had to download Zoom and all that. Which I thought I could just join with the browser, and that's the reason I got delayed. Perhaps that's another reason why I'm not able to look at, the synonyms here. None of the words, but at least you're getting the idea. So आप किसी भी word पे जाओ, right click करो, synonyms आएगा. So from the list of synonyms, you can choose another word that you feel will make sense to what you want to say. And that's another way you can increase your vocabulary, not just in speaking, but in writing as well. Okay, so these were a few tips. To recap: listen more, read more, practice. Once you've learned a new word, remember its meaning, practice using it. And the best way to remember something, okay, this is what my dad had taught me. And he would say, especially, so this was to do with actually mathematics, but then the rule applies pretty much everywhere, I realized. And when my dad would teach me something in my high school, he would say, Beta, you have to do this, you have to practice this within the next 4 hours. You should do it at least 4 times. I was like, okay. And that was with mathematics. And then the same rule in some way, came back to me when I joined the corporate, where one of the trainers, not trainers really, she was our head of strategic planning in the organization. And she was talking to us, and she told about some strategy change that she thought will be something good for us to use. And she said, now this is the strategy, this is the plan. Now, how do you see the success of it? If you use it within the next 48 hours. Okay, so the rule applies. The rule, therefore, is when you learn something new, implement it within the next 48 hours with at least 2 people. So for example, you learned the 7 C's today, right? Rather, you learned it on Monday. Today, we're seeing a detail of it. Now, you will forget the 7 C's after the next class. And I'm telling you that. And the reason you'll forget it because we've progressed. We've left the 7 C's and we are somewhere else. But then if you want to remember the 7 C's time after time, you need to start doing it right after you've learned something new. Within the next 48 hours, implement this aspect anywhere. For example, I gave you the idea of going to a word in the Word document, clicking on the right click, and then getting to synonyms and using another word. You may know it already. For some of you who know, great. For some of you who didn't know this aspect and how even this feature can help you build vocabulary, try it. And if you try it twice within the next 48 hours, then you'll remember to use it as well. And somewhere you will be reminded that how I can increase my vocabulary. How can I be more concise? How can I be more concrete? Okay. So one of you is asking me is, can reading book enhance vocabulary? Pratyasha, absolutely. It will increase your vocabulary because everything that we read somewhere gets registered in our brain. I'm a certified psychologist as well, so I have a little idea about the neuroscience and how that works. So to give you a little insight about that, we'll be going off track, but not for more than 1.5 minutes. And it's important if I share this with you, and for your benefit, here I am. What happens to our brain is that it collects all the information. Sometimes you may not even realize that, will I ever be using this information? You'll be surprised that from this hard disk, or the, this is huger than the terabyte. These are huger than the multiple terabytes of a computer. And you'll be surprised how, when you need to react or when you need something, it will automatically scan here and it will just come in the forefront. The whole point is you imbibe it well. Okay, when you read it, you process it, you keep it in your memory, kabhi na kabhi wo aapke liye talmel bilkul bana ke aage aa jayega. All right, so the answer is, can reading book enhance vocabulary? The answer is yes, a 100% yes. All right, Somo is asking by the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Oh, absolutely. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm so happy to see that you students know about these books. These are quite old books, if I may call them old, but then the lessons they teach us are, priceless. They are timeless as well. Because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think when I was in the 8th or 9th, and we would go to Gwalior, which is my nani's house, and all the cousins would gather there in the summer. And one of my masis had actually gifted this book to me, and I still have it. Okay, so thank you for bringing back that memory. Rich Dad Poor Dad ka Somo Yadav, thank you so much. Yes, any book, dear people, any book, just read, it'll increase your vocabulary as well. So apart from Rich Dad Poor Dad, I welcome you to read more books on self-help. Another lovely book that I like is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Another oldie goldie, and I call it oldie goldie. The message is right there. It may be old, but the value it brings is gold and a lot more. So books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People is very nice. There's another book which is trending. All these are oldie goldies. And in the new block, there's another book which is trending right now, especially with millennials and the younger generation and people who are new in the corporate side of things. Okay, it's called The Art of Not Giving a F***. So you look it up, you will find it. It's available in Amazon. It's available in any bookstore. The Art of Not Giving a F ... Okay, a very interesting book. And coming to 0 to 1. All right. Yes, Sumit. And Learn to Earn. Oh, yes, of course. Learn to Earn. Today, when you learn to earn, later you start, it should not become the other way around, that you're earning to learn. Many people actually do that. They put all their earnings into investing into a lot more learning. All right. Shreyansh, you're laughing. Okay, yes, it is. It's an interesting book though. Okay. All right. So moving on from how to build our vocabulary back into concreteness and a few more comments from you. Let me see. I hope I've not missed anyone. All right, great. Your screen is not visible, ma'am. Bhavya. Okay, I understand that must have been when I had that little glitch. I hope it's sorted now. All right, thank you. Let's move on. So to summarize concreteness, use specific words, know, around, perhaps, try, hope, etc. Try to eliminate them. I'm not saying they'll get out of your vocabulary so easily, But the first step to remove them is to avoid them. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the fifth one, which is on courtesy. Like I said, courtesy will never go out of style. So keep that reputation. See, when you're being courteous to someone, you're not only giving them respect and showing politeness and kindness, you're actually showing who you are, right? So if you want to come across as somebody who's well-mannered, someone who is generous, someone who's kind, who's respectful, it will reflect in your communication. Very soon, we will be talking about first impressions. And in first impressions, also, I will bring back this topic saying that it's the first impressions don't happen only when you see a person or when you talk to them. Even one phone call without looking at somebody, yeah, you just pick your phone, you're talking to somebody, and the way they talk to you, you will be able to create an impression about them, whether they are kind, whether they are rude, whether they are sweet, they're courteous or not. Your emails can tell if the other person is courteous or not. All right. So how do you really bring in this effectiveness of courtesy when you talk? Whatever you see highlighted in blue, my dear boys and girls, is all you need to do to make your communication courteous. Be friendly, be respectful, come across as a professional who respects and is considerate towards the other person. Okay. Be open, be honest, much needed, because ultimately you are studying with people. You are submitting your projects to people. You will be working with people. People are the cornerstone of every success. Need I say more? Be kind, be respectful, be empathic, be courteous. Now, to help ensure you're courteous, always show empathy and consider your point of view from the point of view of the other person. Now, when I use this word empathy, if I were to ask you, put it in your chat box, what do you understand? What is empathy? Without going to Google, okay? Now, don't go to Google. Use your Google and tell me what is your understanding of the word empathy. Put it in the chat box. I'm waiting. Okay, thank you for your responses. I'm getting a few of them. Sinchita says, understanding and acknowledging how the other person feels. Indeed, that's right. Okay. Understanding the sadness of situation without being on that. Fair enough. Saif, yes. Saif, it was not necessarily only about the sadness. Like you rightly said, situation, it could be happy, it could be a problem, it could be some challenge, it could be nervousness. Okay. So it could be anything. It's just about understanding the situation. For example, very recently, I was coaching, one of the vice presidents in a bank, and I'm coaching him. I'm still coaching him, by the way. I'm coaching him on presentation skills. And when he started to talk to me, one of the fears that he had was he's never done it. He has never done presentations ever. Of course, in the job a little bit, but not as a vice president of an organization where he has to talk to at least 50, 60 people in a given branch, or even wider audience, maybe towards the year end when they have an annual meet. So he's getting geared up for that. He says, Anupama, I've never participated in college as a solo participant. I've never been on stage, so I'm really, really nervous. So at that time, if I tell him, oh, come on, yeah, you're a vice president, you shouldn't be nervous. You're, earning some 50, 60 lakhs a year. You're telling me you're nervous. Oh, come on, let me teach you the presentation. If I did that, I'm not understanding his situation. I'm only being that trainer who wants him to learn. No, my participant will not learn. My coachee will not learn. Therefore, I need to be in the space that he is. Somewhere relate to him saying, yeah, I understand it will be difficult. I understand that you've never participated in a school event or a college event as a solo participant. There could be some challenges because maybe you fear the stage. In fact, I had a similar situation as well. And don't worry, XYZ things is what I did. Therefore, with my experience, if I can tell you, you do the XYZ things, there could be some small change in the way you feel. Now, that is empathy, which means I'm understanding where that nervousness comes from. I understand how it is of big reputation that, this vice president of a company, he's scared to go on stage and talk to 50, 60 people. He forgets the words in spite of being prepared. Okay. Now, obviously, he has a little credibility in the organization. And if he does not present well, what will people think of him? So he has all these apprehensions. So I need to understand it from his point of view. Okay. That is what empathy means. So thank you for saying that, Saif. So reiterating, it is not just sadness. It could be any situation. You need to think from the other person's point of view. Ashmita says, keeping yourself in someone else's position or condition. Absolutely, Ashmita. And there's a very beautiful phrase that people use, being in the other person's shoes. Absolutely. Hey, yeah, see how beautiful the world is. Just as I'm saying, I read what Rida has written, saying being in the other person's shoes and understanding how they feel. Absolutely, Rida. Thank you for bringing that. That was exactly my thought. Or rather, this is something I hear very, very often. So people around the world think alike. Huh? Indeed, it is a small brain world. We all think somewhere very similarly. Respect him in a genuine way, says Akash. Absolutely. Anshuman, trying to put yourself into another's place. Absolutely. That's exactly what we're talking about, Anshuman. Thank you for your response. Shrutika says, when we put ourselves in other people's shoes and understand their feelings and situations. Wonderful. Yes, Shrutika. Exactly what we're saying. Empathy is to connect with their emotions. Absolutely, Sumit. Saif says, okay, great. Sanjoti, to me, empathy is not acknowledge, but to understand the situation. Indeed, yeah. It is to understand the situation and in a genuine way, adds Akash. Lovely. Sanjoti, not only to, yeah, I got that. Imagining in someone else's shoes. Absolutely, Darshan. To understand someone's situation without judging. Wow. This is a good one, Sharon. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, to understand someone else's situation, but not being judgmental about it. Absolutely. That is when it means you truly understand what they are facing. So avoid judgments. Very nice. Okay. Pratisha, to know the mood of that person. Yeah, mood, their feelings. Absolutely. Saif says, okay. Saif says, haha, understanding other people. Lovely. Okay. So thank you for those responses, all you boys and girls. Now, coming back to this lovely phrase of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. अब ये बात याद रखना जो मैं आपको अभी बोलने वाली हूँ. Remember what I'm telling you just now. Now we agree that it's about understanding other person's situation, emotions, feelings. So the phrase is put yourself in other person's shoes. Now, why do we say shoes? Why not put yourself in other person's glasses? Why not put yourself in other person's ring? Why not put yourself in somebody's bracelet? क्यों भाई? Shoes क्यों? Shoes इसलिए because once you take the journey longer, the shoe will start to bite if it doesn't fit you right. तो जो जूता पहनता है दर्द उसी को होता है if the shoe is not right. And that is how this phrase evolved, that putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So you can also put them in your hat or in your coat, right? But the shoe is because the shoe bites. And only to the person who the shoe bites, that person knows the pain. That is how the phrase evolved. Now, what I want to tell you in addition to that is the fact that when you are putting yourself in other person's shoes, what happens is many a times, so if you all are able to see me, let me bring the camera a little closer and watch my hand. That should do for you. Okay, for example, this is my foot. And I'm saying I want to put myself into someone else's shoes. Okay, let us say this is someone else's shoe. Okay, now I'm putting my foot here. So what is happening? I've got into someone else's shoe. But many a times I don't remove my own shoe. When I go into someone else's shoe, it's important that I remove my shoe. Only then will I know how the other person's shoe really feels. Okay. So that's exactly the point one of you made, who said, it should not be without any judgment. Okay. Shrutika says, I still can't see you. Okay. I hope you're able to see me now, Shrutika. Others raising hands. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay. Great. So some of you are able to see me. Fantastic. Okay. Sure. Okay. So going back to the empathy bit, it's important that you get into someone else's shoes, but remember to take off your own shoes first. Only when you take off your own shoe, then can you come into someone else's shoe to really understand what it means. Okay. Shrutika says, I'll rejoin. Okay. You may want to, but Shrutika, if you're still able to hear me, that's fine. In case you can't see me, don't worry. We are closing in the next 1 or 2 minutes. I would suggest don't take the pain of signing off and then signing back in. Just stay for 2 minutes. Meri awaaz sun lo. You'll get the message. Okay. So that's about courtesy, dear people. So we've covered 5 C's as of now out of the 7. Clarity, completeness, conciseness, concreteness, and courtesy. To close today's session, I'd like to close with what's written at the bottom of the screen, if some of you are able to see, in blue color, which says, use your M, P, and Q generously. What it means by M, P, and Q is in your messages, in your talks, in your emails, etc. Okay, make use of the words may, please, thank you. So thank you ka Q is what MPQ is all about. You could include a R and a K as well. So use words like may, kindly, request, please, thank you, etc., etc. These make our communication more courteous. Okay, so keep this in mind. Also the fact that when you want to be empathic, put yourself in other person's shoes. Remember to remove your shoes first. And remember, kindness and politeness never go out of style. On that note, let us sign off for today. And I'll see you now on Friday, where we continue with the other 2 C's. And we will talk about first impressions. Okay, how you really build them and how these first impressions can be really important for you to be an effective communicator. With that thought, in case you have any questions, I leave the floor open for the next 1 or 2 minutes. Any questions that you have, bring them on. I'll be happy to answer. In case you do not have questions, that's absolutely all right. We can meet next on Friday. Okay. All right, I don't see any questions coming up, which is absolutely okay. Okay, looks like there is one. No question, ma'am. Really wonderful session. Thank you for the lecture. All right, thank you, Akash. My pleasure if it's been of value to you and you liked it. Thank you so much for your kind words. Somu says, see you soon. Stay safe, ma'am. Thank you so much, Somu. I love you too. Lovely. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, people. I love this pouring of love that you have. Ma'am, will you come to teach us in Pune? I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. The previous batch also asked me the same thing. Unfortunately, this COVID thing didn't allow us at all. I would love to come. And if I come, of course, Rashmi knows how much the students and I would love to meet each other. So we'll push Rashmi this time as well and tell her to bring me there. I would love to meet you all. Shrutika, thank you so much. Stay safe. You too, stay safe, girl. All right, great. Thank you so much then. Let's call it a day from me today, and I'll see you now on Friday. Take care, stay safe. Remember those 7 people, Parshram, Vibhishan, etc. Okay, our name is not in the list. So sanitize, double mask up, and stay safe. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye. I'll see you on Friday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.